Entertainment is...
Entertainment?
Someone bigger than me.
Madness.
Thank you for leaving them alone.
My job is to be an actor.
Make them laugh.
Make them laugh.
Make them cry. That makes you angry.
How can you be so damn dumb?
I see it as a business.
Who's ready to do a talk show?
But the totality is entertainment.
In a land that knows no seasons, springtime has a special meaning. In the Mecca of materialism, celebrations of new life, rebirth, and resurrection are marked by a ritual of unsurpassed devotion. Forget equinox, Easter, Passover. In Hollywood, once every springtime, all faiths bow to a graven image, when there is but one God. And Oscar is his name. Now in its 70th year, the image retains its 30s athleticism. The ceremony itself has been pumping iron.
The Academy Awards used to take place in the Coconut Grove in a restaurant or a nightclub, and people had dinner and had drinks, and they made a few announcements and got up, and everybody applauded, and it was an intimate surrounding. Oh, thanks very much. And what's happened? It's jumped from that to this, this kind of George Orwellian kind of thing. It's a thing.
It's the most glamorous affair in the world.
It's one of the most degrading evenings of the year for a member of the press.
I mean, it's just great to get him. I'm astounded.
The night of the Oscar, I'm in front of my screen taking note of who's winning.
I know I forgot to thank Polygram and Working Title, so that's probably the end of that relationship.
Because I know that the next morning, not only the winner gets flowers, but the one who lost as well.
Very honored. I mean, I can't even be ironic about it. I'm that honored, you know.
Yes, tuxedos by Novex. In a room full of black tie, all men are created equal.
The people I drive normally win, and not to pat myself on the back, but I'm running around an 80% win average right now.
I won't rub it in. I won't take him on the set or anything.
It's the most glittering of the glittering prizes.
You go, well, the Oscar. Who cares about the Oscar? I go, if you don't care, why have you been rehearsing your speech for the past 20 years every time you shave in the morning?
Naturally, a black tuxedo would look fabulous while you hold a gold statue.
Well, a 13.5-inch, 90% tin alloy, gold-plated naked man, designed in the 30s and of indeterminate meaning. A trade association's annual Bash Bauble, which has become the most famous prize in the world. More than a prize, a form of ritual beatification. America's unique approach to the bestowing of global sainthood in the age of entertainment. A media miracle. Copyright Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
It's always really wonderful to be nominated and everything, but the reason that there is there's an Oscar fever, if it was just ceremony, if it was just the award itself, all right, it would be one thing. But there's a truth of the business, and that is basically if your film gets nominated for an Oscar or even looks to be an Oscar contender, it's almost like your movie gets a re-release. It's almost like you have your first release where it does everything. Then you get a second release and actually maybe do double of what it did before.
In January, 5,000 Academy members received nomination papers in their section. Actors nominating actors, directors, and so on.
Certain pictures at this time of year will start feeling like Academy movies. You're starting to feel it already.
James Woods had hopes for his performance in Ghosts of Mississippi, but knew not to leave everything to chance.
Well, I have a publicist.
My theory of the Oscar is that you can't make someone vote.
Do the interview for Santa Barbara for the...
I'm going to do it right now.
People in the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences know when they're being manipulated. If you are trying to push buttons, they will respond very negatively.
I mean, the publicity campaigns to sort of encourage the nomination of an actor, and then once an actor's been nominated to win, is gigantic.
I simply want to get people to see that movie.
As quite simply do the other 250 qualifying flicks, with extra screenings, the shipping of 5,000 cassettes, cold calling Academy members, taking innumerable trade ads, all battling for the Academy's attention.
Take a movie like Jerry Maguire, huge studio movie, hundreds of millions of dollars at stake. They're taking ads every day. You know, it's like a blitzkrieg. You know, it's like a Panzer division of publicity.
We go to very great lengths to see there's complete security over all the balloting materials.
When all the balloting materials come back, what effect did all the publicity have? Well, Tom Cruise picked up a Best Actor nomination for Jerry Maguire. But for James Woods, would enough Academy members have been reminded of his performance? The waiting is agony, and you never forget the moment you heard.
I was asleep.
I was in bed.
They just call you so early. You're always in bed asleep.
I knew the nominations were at 5:38 in the morning, literally 5:38 exactly. And about 4:40, I finally went to sleep because, you know, you do kind of toss and turn and wonder if you're going to. And at 5:41, the phone rang. And I have 3 lines at my house. And I thought, if I get nominated, all 3 lines will ring at once. Because it'll be like my brother, my mother, my agent, my publicist. 5:41, the first line rings the second time, rings the third time, the other lines aren't ringing. I thought, oh, well. So I pick up the phone like it's the city morgue because now I assume I haven't been nominated.
I was drinking freshly squeezed orange juice.
I was in New York. And I was in the basement of the house where we were filming The Big Chill.
And it's my agent on the phone. She says, you got nominated.
I think I yelled a couple of times, you know?
Oh, God, I'm so happy. That's fabulous.
With pleasure.
It's a nice wake-up call. And when they came and told me I'd been nominated, I will never feel like that again because, you know, I was a virgin to the experience.
As was the village in Georgia where traditionally important news is sung, which is how filmmaker Nana Georgiadze learned of her Best Foreign Film nomination.
I have been on the other part of this village, and the people, they heard in the radio this news. They sung me, Nana, you are nominated on the Oscar.
The personal touch soon goes. To be an Oscar nominee is to be public property. Your experiences and feelings the subject of media scrutiny.
You asked me about
Yes. I'd been invited to go into NBC studios to wait for the nominations. And they came in and wired me up. I said, what are you doing? They said, well, you can go into the studio. I said, I'm not going anywhere. And I said, no, I've been nominated. What do you mean? What they're going to say, how does it feel not to be nominated? And they said, oh, no, but you'll hear in the studio. So I'm wired up. And I thought, this is going to be the most embarrassing day of my life because maybe I'm not going to get a nomination. Meanwhile, I'd been waiting in the green room at the studio with the members of the jury of the O.J. Simpson trial. I thought, this must be Hollywood, you know, it could only happen here. But then I did get one, so it was a tremendous relief. And then when I went back to the green room after my interview, you know, the jury gave me a standing ovation, which was rather bizarre.
A succession of bizarre experiences awaits the nominee. Life becomes one extended photo opportunity or press conference, and you better have something to say.
To tell you the truth, I kind of feel like an ugly guy with a date to the prom.
Okay. I care about winning. It would be cool. 1.
They're 1 in 5.
2.
I'm an option on casting people's lists, so for me, that is fabulous. Brenda, Oscar-nominated Blessing, is rather good, you know.
3.
The biggest hassle happens from the time they call your name that morning and say you've been nominated up until that night. I mean, the phone never stops ringing.
Oh, 100 people I don't even know, people out of the woodwork, people from I knew when I was a teenager.
Sadly, in Hollywood, when you're hot, you got a lot of friends.
People who I've just met fleetingly.
Brenda? Where were those people 4 years ago when I was sitting on my ass and couldn't get a job?
I don't know how they know where I am.
Well, it's their business to find out. Because if you think of yourself as an actor in a competition, others see you as a marketing opportunity, as a host of satellite industries springs into action, all catering for your taste.
Woody Harrelson likes bonsais, very Japanese. James Wood loves very strong but massive lilies.
Tom is a kind of, I believe, a single-breasted, tuxedo-wearing, free-flowing, natural-shouldered individual.
Lauren Bacall's gonna be red roses, a big mass of it, no question.
Ralph Fiennes looked fabulous in the English shawl collar with the double vent in the back.
think Mira Sorvino would look amazing in this black diamond gown.
And a lay-down collar, particular to Mr. Gibson, not the wing collar for Mr. Gibson.
So I have to ask about the tux.
The fashion question.
It's a Giorgio Armani special.
There's a reason why I'm wearing a Hugo Boss tux.
He sewed all these on personally.
I was voted the worst dressed man in People magazine.
Dolce & Gabbana.
In fact, companies like Dolce & Gabbana were going to put me in clothes, but when they saw that, they didn't give the clothes to me.
Giorgio Armani.
Mr. Armani.
And Hugo Boss sent me 5 free suits, and I said, well, these guys, I gotta just go down the line with these guys.
The jewels are Harry Winston.
Marianne Jean-Baptiste. Can you imagine these against her skin?
Yellow diamonds. I haven't even seen a yellow diamond.
They would be exquisite on her.
Well, certainly Hollywood is the land of the perk.
Bribery is not uncommon.
People do get, their freebies.
Designers do call up, and jewelry stores, and everybody calls up. That's one of the great things. It's like a scene from a movie where bellboys keep coming in with gowns over their arms. It's great.
Evening gowns and tuxedos are de rigueur at the Oscars. Everyone will need kitting out. Volunteers, please.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been approached by everybody.
Had a personal message from Versace in Milan.
Versace and Cerruti.
Fashion has become such a feature of the Oscars that it now has its own show, generously coordinated by Fred Heyman.
Designers are dying, so to speak, to dress the star.
And of course, nervous nominees need guidance. They don't want to step out in front of the world looking silly.
It will bother 1 billion people.
This scale of coverage makes the Oscars the biggest shop window in the world and doesn't hurt Fred Heyman's own star-studded Beverly Hills store. But at the end of the day, actors aren't really clothes horses.
I unfortunately am putting more thought into more superficial things like what shoes I'm going to wear. Seriously, it becomes a strange thing.
It's a far cry from Fargo, though this bag would go great with Marge's fur hat, yeah. Nominated movies add hundreds of screens and posters in a bid to win the box office and the ballot box. A fever of uncertainty grips the city of LA as Oscar looms.
Oh, it's horrible. My first year as a manager, I had 9 clients and 3 of them were nominated for Academy Awards. I ran home on the Monday to jump into my rented tuxedo, and as I was running home, Ronald Reagan was shot in an assassination attempt, and the Oscars were canceled and rescheduled to the next day, which not only were we dealing with this national catastrophe and disaster, it made everyone in this town completely crazy, and then dealing with the aftermath of it, and then the Oscars set up for the next day, and all 3 of my clients lost. So it was really wild. And no matter how you prepare yourself that it doesn't matter, being nominated is everything, all those cliches are true, everybody really wants to win. And everybody walked in there with a couple of 3x5 cards with their acceptance speech. It's very aggravating. It's exciting, but it's enormously enervating and aggravating.
The Academy Awards is a show. Every year the same cast is assembled. The media, the stars, the fans. It's in everybody's interest to generate excitement.
You came all the way over here just to camp out at the Oscars.
Well, I came on vacation.
Though not everyone's read the script.
You're blowing it. You're already blowing it. What do you want?
Fans in the stands, they're ready for Oscar. New deal ABC Entertainment News at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles.
One thing that is concrete is don't have any signs. Any unruly behavior will be subject to ejection, okay?
Signs, unruly behavior, these are the foot soldiers of the entertainment army, armed only with adoration, there to defend their place at the front line of fame.
There's a bad seat in the house.
It's great. It just doesn't get any better than this.
On a 3-night bivouac.
My son bought it in London because you can't copyright them here in the United States.
See the celebrities, and for a little bit of period of time, I get to become a celebrity, get a lot of interviews, and that makes it fun.
This thing is growing and growing, and what has helped it are these tabloid TV shows, Entertainment Tonight, Extra, Access, Hard Copy. They do this Hollywood fluff.
The big day is finally here, and I feel good. Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Kometko.
And I'm Linda Grasso.
which is built-in publicity.
While Hollywood may be used to the glare of the international spotlight,
And I think the ratings seem to go up every single year.
never does it shine as brightly as it does on this particular day.
We are just being manipulated by the Hollywood machine. You know, they want us to be here. They tell us to dress a certain way, be a certain way. We're here a certain time. They give you a million different credentials.
This one means the press tent. And that's all I'm allowed to go into a press tent. I feel like an elephant, you know, a tent.
So how much access will Hollywood really allow?
Jules Asner joins us live now with a preview of what tonight's VIP guests can look forward to.
Behind the scenes is nothing. The behind the scenes is actually in the bleachers or, you know, by the toilets.
Jules, make us salivate.
Well, Linda, you will be salivating. I am live here inside the Governor's Ball, where in just a few hours, the biggest stars in Hollywood are going to be coming in. I also have it on very good authority that there is a lot of champagne that's being chilled very close indeed.
You know, we haven't gotten in to go anywhere.
Frustrated by the level of control the Academy exerts, the media turn on the only thing available, themselves.
Media covering media covering media.
I'm with the media. BET Network.
We're publicity shills. That's what we are.
I'll be doing some stand-ups in a few minutes.
Ah yes, the famous stand-up, the piece to camera where TV reporters give a preview of some of the fascinating behind-the-scenes moments they're not going to be allowed to see, standing in the places they won't be allowed to be, or giving their spontaneous reactions to events that haven't happened yet.
Because the show will actually be on tomorrow. But what I'll be doing will be taped today, so it'll be included in the show as if I'm actually here.
And just ignore me, I'm not actually here yet.
Live Oscar coverage.
There's a lot of as if going on. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman have shown up for TV camera rehearsals. As if.
Absolutely beautiful. What are you wearing? She's really
This is something that my mother picked out.
And Tom, it's a Versace. So can you give the folks a little spin, Tom, and let them see your tuxedo?
Yeah, but they're going to be very surprised when they see Tom Cruise. They're tiny. Very tiny. It's an illusion.
The signs don't fool anyone.
I mean, I wonder when people like Brenda Blethyn and Marianne Jean-Baptiste, if anyone will actually really know who they are. Yeah, we like to vote for Brenda Berthel.
Brenda Blythen.
Brenda Berthel.
Brenda Breathen.
I love that movie. It's really good. You get a lot of that, which really works for Spanish TV. You know.
But there's no mistaking Oscar, the biggest prize in the world, the most recognized statuette ever, beamed to the biggest TV audience in history.
Hold that, Jerry.
Rumored to be over 1 billion in 120 countries.
20 minutes from a beer.
And 24 hours till showtime. One last night camping out under the stars. One last sprig of euphorbia. One last stand-up in front of the Shrine Auditorium. A temporarily illuminated jewel shining through the gloom of South Central LA. The morning of March 24th is warm and bright. Beneath the Marlboro Man on Sunset Boulevard, a can collector sleeps in. A second-hand copy of Entertainment Weekly keeps even those on the margins of society tuned to the race for the Oscars. Across town at Academy headquarters, the accountants from Price Waterhouse have done the count and may be the calmest men in town.
Academy Awards Day is a pretty normal day till about noon. We actually get together in the morning. Both of us actually memorize who the winners are going to be.
The Academy has arranged for off-duty policemen to meet up with each of us and to drive us to the show.
You know something that nobody else does, and they'd like to. It feels good.
It starts like at 10 in the morning. I mean, you got to get the tux on. You're nervous. You can't eat. You're not going to eat until 4 the next morning.
You'll want your hair done as late as possible so it'll be fresh.
Nightmare. Being a hairstylist in Hollywood during Oscar Day, it's a little bit like if a regular hairstylist would have all his clients getting married the same day at the same time.
3 o'clock appointment? You must be joking.
At the Oscar Awards, you really try to get their hours in advance.
Let's work out the little introduction, the hi, hello, the person turns, they give them the wave.
Usually they start walking up the red carpet around 4. So normally the smart media people get there around 11 a.m.
The smart media must also be smartly turned out. Every tux in town seems to have been commandeered for the occasion. Its cameras and cummerbunds, ear sets and earrings, boom poles and ball gowns, as hundreds of crews from all over the world shed their anoraks for one day in the hopes, perhaps, of their own designer label deal.
Well, I said, Giorgio, I don't want your clothes. Everyone's going to be wearing them. Mr. Versace, Gianni, or G as I call him. I was like, G, please. Well, then Mr. Sears and Roebuck rang up, and I couldn't say no. They offered me a discount, actually.
TV crews test circuits, practice last-minute links, preen the presenter. There's much esoteric talk of tags, tosses, bumps, and stand-ups.
They want to stand up open for her. They don't want, she doesn't have to toss to another package. That's my question. She's not tagging out. She's not tossing anyone else.
The florists toss in the final display. The press photographers assume their appointed slots, accorded on the media muscle principle. And accreditation from the Academy is like gold dust.
Excuse me, sorry. They do assign spaces. They will give, like the Associated Press and Reuters, the Wires will get a good spot, Los Angeles Times. It's not much you can really do. You just kind of pray a lot.
Or complain if your prayers go unanswered.
Every year we go through the same thing. The cameras are positioned looking right into the sun. You end up getting all these green flares. It looks like it's horrible. And every year we tell them, let's put us on the side with the sun behind us. It's a much better picture. But they always end up doing it this way, screwing it up. You know, the fans have a great position. They're happy, we're not.
At least you're in.
Gentlemen, I need to go back that way. Okay.
The red carpet is about to be consecrated. Or at least cleared of commoners. The barriers are going up. The lines are being drawn between the vetted crowd, the accredited media, the penned-in public, and the area being made safe for the precious assets of America's biggest export industry.
They have people that are dressed in plain clothes that are actually police officers. So you never really know where a real policeman is. They're in disguise.
Not every beautiful young woman you see in a ball gown is a would-be starlet. Very often they're packing a gun.
They are out in full force at the Oscars.
But something is still missing. Oh yes, celebrities. Maybe there's a style jam at Christoph's.
It's a nightmare. How many people can you do at 3 o'clock?
They'll say, oh, I need a pair of shoes. Can you go buy me a pair of shoes?
That's when the stress comes in.
The limo is going to come, but it's not going to find your house and all that crap.
Clients might have a favorite driver, and that driver might drive 3 or 4 people that are nominated, and they all want that same driver.
Finally, the first long, black, gleaming stretch limo glides silently up to the Shrine Auditorium to disgorge its eagerly awaited cargo. Checked in by living legend Daily Variety's showbiz columnist Army Archard, a 35-year veteran greeter of the great and good.
As they all come up, I hopefully will know who they are and also what they've done and why they're there.
The Academy Award nominee, Mr. Joan Allen from the Crucible.
In general, to give them a moment in the sun, because later on that sun may have set by the time the winners are announced.
Joan gets the red carpet treatment, essentially an interview obstacle course bristling with microphones and lenses, where, confusingly, the interviewers are as glamorous as the interviewees.
Okay, we are.
This being Hollywood, the crowd are being asked to do another take of their spontaneous joy at being at the Academy Awards.
Welcome to the 69th Academy Awards!
More as if.
Thank you very much. You're all hired.
A red rope separates the plebs from the celebs, the mere Academy members from the stars we're spotting.
Billy Bob and then James Woods right after, back to back. That'll work. We can go up to the two-way above.
Now comes the true battle for access to the stars.
Andy, come over here for one sec.
You see it on television, it has such a legitimacy, it has such a dignity, it has such an intimacy about it.
There's something about that movie that touched me for the rest of my life. Yeah.
And then you get there, and there's everybody, and it's like a war.
He's standing in our space here. Get him to move over. He's over in our space now.
Oh, he's Italian. He can translate for me.
Okay.
Time, you know. It's wonderful.
And thousands of people, and it's all being fed through a tube for the television.
Everyone is trying to get the main stars that are nominated in the real big categories. And you hear everything going on, from helicopters to the fans to the other media people screaming at these celebrities. And you're trying to get them too.
Andy, come talk for 1 second.
The main thing is you got to come back with the goods.
Andy, come over here for 1 sec.
Everyone will be asked, how does it feel? They're all asked that.
And the answer is?
But too long to describe in a bite.
I don't know, it's just crazy. It's just
overwhelming.
I don't do this every day. Most people never do it, so I think it's pretty amazing.
But it's a big night.
This part's fun. If you're nominated, it's very painful. It can be very sad. But this is not sad at all. This is just for laughs.
Oh, it's much bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's loud.
There's a great deal of preparation of hair and makeup and clothing and manicurists and limos arriving and champagne pops corking.
Madness. Insanity. Run.
You got to come back with that one soundbite or that one interview that's going to make you stand out of the crowd.
It reminds me of that opening scene in Singing in the Rain. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I can't even tell you the questions they ask you. They ask you anything that comes to their mind.
Well, duh, yeah.
Well, it's like it is. You can see.
It's better to give than to receive.
Money, 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 money.
They just want a face and some noise on screen, so.
My mother. I got my mom and my brother.
You go there with a big smile on your face, and you have lockjaw by the time the night's over,
Notice how they have one line memorized, which they say to each person over and over again.
It's just as much of a zoo as I remember it. Yeah. But I'm certainly proud to be one of the animals.
Look, it's an assault, really. I mean, the noise, the light, the dresses.
Right, let's not forget the free frock deal.
Tell us about your gown that you're almost wearing.
Done.
So I'm very grateful. I love this very much.
It loves you too.
As does Valentino with his priceless global plug.
An Isaac Mizrahi dress.
The Academy's red carpet is the ultimate fashion runway, and many designers take a turn.
Thank you so much.
But if there were an Oscar for product placement, the shoe-in would be Giorgio Armani, dressing host Billy Crystal, Woody Harrelson, Jeffrey Rush, Cuba Gooding Jr., Jodie Foster, Kevin Spacey, Milos Forman, Brenda Blethyn, Glenn Close, Faye Dunaway, James Woods' mum, and James himself. A practice that started as favours to regular clients now often means legally binding exclusive contracts.
I like the way you're dressed much better than the way I'm dressed. So.
The frocks are for keeps. The rocks, however, are a different matter.
Some big guy comes round with your package. He leaves you with this piece of paper that sort of says, item, necklace, $100,000. Then he goes off and you run behind him and shut the door and lock it. And then you get him out and muck about with them and sort of go, look, this is worth $50,000.
Harry Winston's alone has $21 million worth of jewellery being modelled by the world's biggest stars for free, the advertising value of which is probably incalculable.
I think this is one of those wonderful situations where it's a win-win for everyone. At the Academy Awards several years ago, Madonna, the necklace that she had on that evening, literally left town the next morning and went out to the Far East to a client whose wife saw it and said, I want that. And it left Hollywood the very, very next day.
The brooch I wore to the Golden Globe Award, they were inundated with requests for that brooch. I think they sold out of them. The fact that I broke mine in half, is it fell off in the excitement of it all, and I broke it.
When you arrive at the Academy Awards red carpet arrivals area, you've really arrived, witnessed by the world, and you want to make a statement. Millions of dollars worth of jewellery and posh Christian Lacroix frocks is one way. The other is to pull out a piece of cloth with a letter on it which you've hidden down your trousers for the last 3 days.
It's as crazy as I thought it would be. And it's great to look down the line and see Kristen and Julia.
It takes a while to register that this isn't the Tom Cruise fan club. An eagle-eyed cameraman spots the commotion and smells a story. Will grunge queen Courtney Love, in her Versace gown, defend porn king Larry Flynt, or squirm in the face of the anti-porn protest?
I'm kind of a feminist, but I like her.
The juicy media moment is not lost on her.
Wow, what great footage you have right here.
This isn't the first time the Oscars has been used as a stage for political protest, and the Academy disapproves of people raining on its carefully marshalled parade. In the past, Marlon Brando, Vanessa Redgrave, Susan Sarandon and Tim Robbins have all taken political advantage of Oscar's incomparable media profile. Today, everyone is behaving themselves impeccably. Even 60s radical Vietnam War protester Jane Fonda has joined the Hollywood aristocracy with her media mogul husband, Ted Turner. Fans and stars all know their place in the hierarchy.
I hear you. I'm here.
With status measured in decibels.
Someone bigger than me.
We must ask everybody to please make your way into the theater because the doors will be closing on you.
No one's going anywhere till they've ticked off the A-list. And the A-list is everywhere. By showtime, there's celebrity gridlock on the red carpet. If they start talking to each other, we'll never get through this. Jodie chats happily. Sigourney seems temporarily becalmed and a bit bemused. Tom is gently shunted along. The fans are beside themselves with excitement. It's hard to believe Jim Carrey in the flesh, so near and yet still related only to the media, so far. Winona regally acknowledges the crowd.
Because the doors will be closing in 15 minutes.
I mean, the door is closed. I mean, you can be... Bill Clinton can't get in if the door is closed because of security at the Oscars. You're late for the Oscars, you don't get in.
I have to go.
As the stars stream by, the media keep angling for a big one. Some slip through the net as microphones are cast into the turbulence to snag anything. Time's running out. An air of desperation grips the media. You can't go back empty-handed. Your channel mustn't be the only one to have missed a potential winner.
Exhilaration.
Best film nominee director Mike Leigh lends a hand. Mel, somebody wants you. So who doesn't? Suddenly, a late bonus. The Queen of Hollywood.
She's coming quick now.
Barbra Streisand unfazed by the threat of door closure and surrounded by a phalanx of security.
I'm thrilled. It was thrilling to win for Evergreen, and now it's even more thrilling to be nominated a second time as a composer, you know?
Barbara duly turns and waves. The vultures drift away. The media disentangle their links to the outside world, carry off their videotaped booty. And as the red carpet clears, the 69th Academy Awards ceremony falls under the sole jurisdiction of ABC TV. They will be charging advertisers a total of $35 million for 43 slots in their coverage, sold worldwide, of an event featuring some of the world's most glamorous, powerful, beautiful, talented, richest and nervous people, trapped in the Shrine Auditorium, watching a show that would last almost 4 hours.
You sit there, you know, we live in earthquake territory. Last time, I looked around, like the least famous person sitting around me was, you know, Robert Redford or something, you know what I'm saying? And you just think, God, what if there were an earthquake right now and this building, you know, bought it?
And you sit in the audience and people are being moved constantly. They have extras. They have men and women dressed in formals, and be a great scene in a movie, and tuxedos that are, okay, now go sit here, now go sit there, and fill up this section. And then you barely hear what's really being said on stage because it's not for the live audience. It's for the millions that are watching it on television.
It's seen throughout the world. I met relatives of mine in Moscow that I did not know existed, and we had tracked them down. When I walked through the door and I said hello, and she went, Oscar, Oscar. And I said, no, Billy. She said, no, Oscar.
You know, 3 billion people wouldn't watch it if it didn't have some kind of mythological impact on everybody.
It's an extraordinarily personal and private moment where a lot of feelings and emotions come whizzing through you.
What I think I hated the most was that moment before they read the envelope.
It's also an alarmingly public moment where everyone is sort of watching.
What'll I say? Who will I thank? I thank James Mason, I thank Alan Bates. And all of a sudden they'd said Elizabeth Taylor. What, who? Elizabeth Taylor? Oh, bravo! You know, it's very, very complicated.
It's such a sort of a stressful evening.
So for a second, you're caught by the very thing that you despise, which is that naked greed of sitting there wanting something as frivolous as a prize. It's wrong somehow that we should care. And for a moment, you care a lot.
Well, that moment I went to sleep that night in London, and I forgot the Oscars were on television. It shows you how into it I was. I was doing a picture with Peter Sellers, and I just forgot they were on. I didn't think I was going to win, and I was very happy to be nominated, but I was awakened by a telephone call, and they said, "You did it, you won it," and I said, "I won what?" I had no idea what they were talking about. "You won the Oscar." I went, "Oh my God, was that on last night?"
Now you'd have to be on another planet entirely not to know the Oscars were on. But to be there, a nominee on the industry's night of nights, can cause a kind of Academy amnesia.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't remember it.
I can't remember a thing.
I can't remember. It's kind of hard to recall.
It was like someone had placed cotton in my ears, and I could just sort of hear it outside of myself. It's like I'd left my body.
So I was like halfway in, I was looking from a mountaintop somewhere in, the Andes.
It took a second for me to jump up and go, ah! Because it just, Denzel said it, but it flowed really slow and then went, not into my ear, but past my ear, like, whoa.
I only remember that there were stairs to be negotiated. I had to walk up these stairs. And it was like stairs it was like one of those kind of Busby Berkeley dream sequences, You're sitting there in the stairs that lead up to the stage of the Shrine Auditorium, and I thought they just went on forever. They just went on forever. Your head fills up with blood, and you don't hear or see anything anymore, and it's like you have tunnel hearing.
I was worried about my speech. It's always something for me to worry about. Instead of enjoying it, I had something to worry about.
You want to express your appreciation and your love. You want to take an intimate moment to say thank you, but you're really on an airstrip at night and it's raining hard. That's the feeling.
And you just drifted up this kind of long stairway and then looked out at this kind of impressionistic painting of 2,500 people or however many it is, and you say some words, then you get off. It's scary.
Then you go downstairs and you go into this room, and it's always very hot with all the lights and so on. You take your pictures, and you can walk down the hall and get a free sandwich. They have a wonderful platter of sandwiches there.
And something slightly more wonderful for the governor's ball guests. 19,000 hors d'oeuvres, 500 lobsters, 30 pounds of beluga caviar, prepared by 35 chefs and 500 staff under Master Chef Wolfgang Puck. Meanwhile, the press have supped on sandwiches.
The photo room, it's a small room. You're sitting there and you've got your tuxedo on. You must have a tuxedo on. They won't let you in. There's a giant Oscar there, and the celebrity will pose with his or her Oscar next to the Oscar, and that's it. That's all you will get.
With every shot, including the Academy and the broadcaster's logo.
And it's always under the threat that you will be ejected and you will never be invited back again.
They're just taking a few more photos and they'll be in.
The role of winner is not always easy to play.
Emma Thompson?
The world's media, no ordinary audience. Some play it disarmingly casual.
I've taken them off. I've taken the shoes off. They're off and I'm so happy. I'm even happier than when I got this.
So, what do I do?
Some play the naive innocent.
These people are going to ask me questions.
Some do requests.
Yeah, I'm not going to do much of this. I'm just very excited.
Some struggle with inscrutable questions.
Hi.
What actually made you to win an award?
Pardon me?
What actually made you to win an award?
What does it mean
Yes.
to me to win this? Why did I win the award? Well,
I don't know why I got this,
Hopefully because I did a good job.
It's not my fault.
Juliet, we're going to take 349, and then we're going to take 438, and then we're going to. That's it.
Going
I
home.
think Nick is trying to get
Going
in here.
home with the director every night. How different was that for you, as far as any other picture that you've worked on?
You're right, I didn't go home with the director every night on other pictures. I'm glad you made that point.
Some leave them laughing and exit stage left. The winners are wined and dined, their rewards close to hand. Like a current favourite doll.
It's all gold and stuff.
The losers try to shrug off defeat. The organisers look forward to next year.
I'm so glad this is over, I can't tell you.
Not quite over for the media. Still in her evening gown, WTN's Debbie Melnick edits into the night. Oscar coverage provides prized opportunities to make contact with A-list stars, but has a short shelf life and must be fed out to worldwide clients within hours. The night is young. Head for the limos, if you can find yours in the limo gridlock which grips the Shrine Auditorium. Across town, Vanity Fair's famous Oscar night party is in full swing. But don't expect to unwind in private. Guess who else has been invited? The media. Well, sort of.
Yeah, we have exclusive invitations to all these parties, but what it really means is that you get to stand outside in a public place with a whole bunch of other people. Get out of my way! Get out! That's mine! Get it!
Sorry, you can't be here.
There's a lot of that, so it's a lot of fun.
This is the established party. I say established because this is the establishment, and the establishment consists of the movers and shakers in this town, the people that make the decisions.
And still with 14 other major parties on in town, the pressure's on to win the top guest sweepstakes.
Parties here tend to have sort of VIP roped off sort of pens, and then sort of everybody else is on the outside, and it makes everybody feel uncomfortable. And we never have that. It's just everybody mixes up. It's a much more democratic party than any other party going on tonight.
You can't shoot from here. Listen to me.
Want me to kill Ron when I get home?
While the Glitterati party, satellite industries all over town are open for business.
Will your photos come out of focus?
There's a slim window of opportunity
Courtney Love looking like a babe.
to fully exploit the Oscars.
Yeah, definitely scan it tonight because I've got everybody downloading from Europe. If you don't have a computer and a scanner, you're not going to play ball. So he's down there, and we need a credential to get into the governor's ball. Yeah, well, the streets are probably all blocked over there, and he thinks he's going to be down there for another 2 hours. Well, S&D is going to be open until 1. That's 1 hour. Oh gosh.
The world is watching. The entire world. What can I do if I can't just read a teleprompter for about 10 seconds?
They have a disaster with Wolfson. He thinks he'll be there for another 2 hours. The photo lab's going to close in an hour. He's panicking. He's got all the backstage stuff, and I've promised all the papers in England. Because you've got the credential. So where are you right now?
James Caan heads for another party, only 8 more to go. A crew under strict instructions to leave no party uncovered is escorted to a tiny space left at the Miramax do. Squeeze in and don't even think about moving.
I'm here at 4 o'clock in the morning because I already know who win, who agent or whose PR is going to send flowers to who. Suddenly the phones start ringing and I'm doing flowers like that and they have no clue.
So we're going to miss all the deadlines in London then. Let me get on the blower right now and call her off. It's always something. You try and plan everything out, and then at the last minute. And we're the only ones that have these photos. I mean, all the celebrities backstage.
Let's have a look at some Oscar winners.
Deadlines are one thing, but there's no pressure like a live link.
I'm rolling 5, 4, 3.
Thanks, guys. We're live.
As Sharon Stone's sister goes live for UK Breakfast TV.
Live at the Vanity Fair party, and I am being...
E! Entertainment's Jules Asner still alive at 1 o'clock in the morning. Filling airtime is one thing, but the job is get the celebs and don't be tongue-tied.
Hi, we're back here live at the Vanity Fair party, and I'm being joined by Jean-Claude Van Damme and his incredibly stunning wife.
Failing any insights, there's always that trusty standby.
Valentino. Thanks, Val.
Versace.
Versace? Well, you both look incredible.
Keep plugging those glad rags.
You're a little classy, but a little sexy, you know what I mean?
For some, the glare of publicity is just too bright.
Can we turn off the lights?
Well, pretend it's radio.
You've got to compete with all these other photographers here. Right. I've got to get in touch with my photographer,
Where
Andrew.
is he?
He's right dead in the center there, but I've got to get through all this police barricade.
All right.
He's got the goods right there.
All right.
Security's so tight I can't even get through here. There's always an official security guard. Thank you very much. sit here. I've got more photos. Sylvia!
Yes.
¿Cómo está?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Muy cansado. Mucho trabajo.
Yes.
Anyways, are you coming into the server? I've got the arrival photos, I've got some of the party pictures. It's quite a sight to see because all of a sudden when they know that the pictures are in there, everybody's calling on these high-speed transmission lines. And
there's PPCM, the French agent, pulling down Binoche, while Stuart Cook, our photographer, is uploading Binoche to 324.2. So it all happened at the same time.
I think for arrivals it will be too late. I think so, but I will look at them now.
Okay, and I've got some exclusive stuff backstage, which will be here a little bit later. Sometimes it's almost like a meltdown appearing, you know. Oslo, Deutschland, London. This has always been a big payday for everybody.
A company could do $100,000 in a night.
They don't care how much it's going to cost for the messenger to take it. They don't care how much you're going to charge them. They want your hand to touch those flowers. From a business point of view, it's a good revenue. And as a human being, it's a chance for me to share something with them. They've got the talent to be in front of the camera and have that famous Oscar. And in return, I've got the talent to send them the most beautiful arrangement that I can do for them.
When you have a client that wins, you almost live vicariously through your client.
Yes. Yes.
And it's, yes, I've won that night.
Yes.
Every year I say, okay, that's it. I've had it, no more. And I keep doing it. It's very rewarding. Financially, it's rewarding. I make a lot more than a school teacher makes.
Every year there's this new winner that I probably don't have as a client. Then what happens is they have all of those arrangements in their home, they don't know what to do with it. And then suddenly they make this selection of who has the best flowers from where. And you know, they always do that little contest. And of course, most of the time I win the contest of the best florist. Therefore, I become on a Rolodex, and next thing I know, I've got a phone call who says, this is so-and-so, we got flowers from you from the Oscar. Can you please help us with our flower need? And I say, of course I want to help you.
Because you're a winner. You're anointed in a culture that worships success.
From the day you win an Academy Award, you will always be introduced as Academy Award winner.
You know, the one thing I remember as I was driving the next day down to my parents and thinking, gee, everything's back to normal.
No longer here's Charlie Fadalotti, here's Academy Award winner Charlie Fadalotti. It's a whole different world.
It hasn't, I don't want this to really affect my life in a profound way in terms of how I view myself. That's what I remember thinking.
It's the life lottery, is what it is. You now have done something that, when you look at how many actors there have been over the time, very few people have done. You have achieved the ultimate in your craft, and nobody can take it away from you.
I'm going to staple it to my head.
This feels refreshing.
It's heavy.
And in career terms, worth much more than its weight in gold. But don't get too attached. Your prize must first be returned for engraving. And a word of caution. Should your career ever take a downturn and you fall on hard times, don't even think about exploiting it or selling it. You don't actually own it. The copyright to your 13.5-inch gold-plated statue is jealously guarded, and all representations of it are forever the property of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences.
I'll tell you one thing about the Oscars. Everyone who's in the business of being an agent or a manager or a producer, anyone who has to deal with actors, should go away, leave the country for the 5 days after the Oscars, because every actor I know has a minor sort of breakdown 5 days after the Oscars, because very few people won them. Then there's a larger chunk of people who were there and didn't, who are dealing with all of that complicated energy. And then there are all those actors who didn't get nominated, having to decide that for them the Oscars are meaningless and putting all that energy into that, or the Oscars are really meaningful and wondering why they weren't in a place the year before to be nominated, will they be in the upcoming year? So it creates a kind of review, sort of frantic review of one's life that makes all of us pretty crazy for about a week. I'm gonna definitely try and get out of town from now on for the week after the Oscar.
As are the giant Oscar monuments going into storage hibernation. And the idea of Oscar, the ultimate entertainment accolade, a global icon tucked back into the American psyche for another year, dreaming of success.